We're looking at a worksheet with a series of images. What they all have in common is they have shadows. And it'd be hard pressed to say this is the most important feature in Excel, but it certainly can add some life and livelihood to certain worksheets. The next worksheet over, by the way, has exactly the same images, but without shadows. As we bounce back and forth, you can certainly see the difference. And when you're using pictures, you might want to consider those as well. Sometimes you use an imported picture in Excel. Adding shadows can be done easily. You can use them in charts as well, too. And on this worksheet here, where we see these shadows, there's a picture down below that doesn't have a shadow. But the approach to adding a shadow is pretty much the same for all the different objects that you might consider when applying this feature. So I'll click on the picture here. After clicking on the picture, picture format appears up in the ribbon menu system. Click it. The term we're looking for is going to be effects, E-F-F-E-C-T-S, in this case, picture effects. And in this case, shadow. And there are all kinds of variations here. Typically, I think you might start with just a center one. See how that looks. I'll click outside of it. You might want to make those shadows bigger. So let's click this again. And this is the same approach you'll be using with other objects as well, too. Back to picture format, picture effects. This time, under shadow, slide all the way to the bottom and you'll see shadow options. And there are way too many variations here, but one approach you might take, at least initially, is change the angle to be 45 degrees. And then experiment with some of these distance entries. I'm going to put in 20 here. And now look at the picture. It appears to be floating above the worksheet. And again, it just has I think most people agree, a more professional look. It's more interesting looking than before. And again, feel free to experiment with that at different times. Remember, when you click this, you see picture format and Explorer under picture format, the various picture effects. Now, on this worksheet here that has some of these entries here, same general idea. I'll just do one of them here. Picture format, same general idea, picture effects, shadow, and just do the center one this time. Now I'm going to click on the other three charts because you can apply this feature all at once to different objects. Clicking on the image in the upper left, now holding down the Shift key as I click the other two images, we can then go to picture format, picture effects, and shadow, do the same sort of thing, and possibly come back and, again, as before, as we showed you earlier, under shadow options, maybe exaggerating those distances even more. This time we'll try a 50 is probably going to be too much. Put in the 45-degree angle maybe. And again, things to experiment with, but you can see how that's looking now. It just makes it more interesting. And the same thing was done earlier with these images that we saw on the earlier sheet. The green explosion button and also the yellow star. By the way, the so-called explosion is available by way of the Insert tab, and we go to Illustrations under Shapes, and you'll see tons of choices here, but don't forget to scroll down because at the bottom you'll see stars and banners. And the current explosion is referred to as explosion 14 points, and the one to the left of it is called 8 points. I'll click that one and use that there too. And again, we could go through the whole process of adding shadows again. Now, in charts, once again, we can't make the case for saying this is critical, but look at the difference of the two charts here, and I'll zoom in a bit more to accentuate it. The chart on the right has shadows for the inner area, the plot area, and also on the various titles. And once again, the whole approach here is the same. You'll see different wording here and there, but on the chart to the left, if I want that inner area, the plot area, I'll click it. If I want that to have a shadow box, I go to the Format tab. It doesn't say picture format here. And in this case, it's Shape Effects, if we want to use that. Now, by the way, you certainly are not confined to shadow. You could consider glow. I don't think that's the best choice here, but just to remind you, we could choose glow here. Look what's happening in the background to that chart. Orange glow, green glow, and it's easy to go overboard here. I think you can sense that too. But here too, if we wanted to do shadow in the same way, we could do that too. And then come back later possibly and change the angle and so on. We could do it with the title here as well. But when you're working with charts and you click the various elements, you want to go through the Format tab and then Shape Effects to make these changes. So all in all, although not a critical feature in Excel, whenever you're annotating a worksheet or you have images or charts, pictures, you can add shadows to them. And that's only one of many different shape effects you can get to. But I think it's worth experimenting with, and something that in some situations just makes worksheets more interesting as you work with them and use them in presentations.